Hello friends, I'm Snappy Dragon, you can call me V, and if you're new here, welcome! Here we do stitchy business, sewing pretty dresses and accessories, learning about history, and drinking all the tea. I'm in my friend Sarah's basement this evening. California is in shutdown again, including my day job, so I'm sheltering in place here in the frozen north with her and her family. Sarah's even convinced me to go play in the snow with her, which is a lot considering I moved to California to avoid winter. I'm giving myself a bit of a New Year's break from my big projects, so I asked you on Instagram and in the community tab what questions you have for me, and now I get to sit down and chat with you. I've tried to cover everyone's questions in a general sense, since a lot of folks ask similar things.
Favorite project of 2020?
I've made so many things this year, but my absolute favorite is definitely the green wool 1890s walking suit. This is the first thing I've made where it really does look as good in reality as it did in my head. Like, my sewing skills are finally catching up with my vision. It was a bit of an odd process, spending months and months on design and research because I couldn't get myself to buy the fabric, then putting the whole thing together in around 3 weeks. This is also the video I'm most proud of, and I'm glad YouTube mostly seems to agree it's some of my best work.
What's your origin story as a costumer?
I've been interested in costuming for as long as I can remember, even as a kid. My family owned a sewing machine, but I grew up in an environment where traditionally feminine interests were really looked down on, so I could never really get further than shoestring budget cosplays and Halloween costumes. More recently, 2 or 3 years ago, I was invited to a Renaissance fair and the interest reawakened a bit, and I started to discover Costube through prior attires getting dress videos. Then I had a period of my life where I was asking myself, how do I become this creative person I'd always wanted to be? I'd always really looked up to the ladies I'd seen at conventions and events who made these amazing outfits. This coincided with some friends asking me to participate in the Dickens Christmas Fair with them early enough in the year that I could actually make the commitment. So with a lot of help from them, I put together my first proper historical outfit, this gray 1850s gown. The rest is on this channel, pretty much.
How did you learn the sewing techniques you use?
If you watch sewing videos, then I probably learn the same way you do. I'm almost completely self-taught. Most of what I know is from a combination of Costube, internet research, chatting with other costumers, and just playing with things on my own. If you see me using a certain technique in a video, there is at least a 50% chance that I learned it from a tutorial less than 10 minutes before filming.
What's your favorite sewing trick?
So many of you commented on my use of a ladder stitch to baste darts in my 1890s vest, so I have to tell you how I came up with that. I was working on the mock-up one evening and I had an absolutely awful migraine, so I wasn't up to machine sewing at all. However, I can usually hand sew when I don't feel well, so I was hand sewing the mock-up while lying on the couch hoping the pain meds would kick in, and this is how I managed to sew the darts together. It is super helpful for darts that don't have a perfectly straight line down the center, where just folding it in half and running it through the machine won't work.
What's it like sewing with a chronic illness?
So for all the new folks, I have fibromyalgia, which causes chronic muscle pain and fatigue. If you're interested in the long form answer, we did a 2-hour panel during CocoVid on costuming with a disability, and RetroClod has an excellent video on more technical sewing tips. For me personally, it comes down to knowing my needs and setting my projects up accordingly. I use a very tall adjustable work table to minimize back pain. I do certain things like cutting out and pattern making on days where I feel good, and save hand sewing work for days when I don't. Actually, I try to always have a hand sewing project around because it's amazing for my mental health. The details will be different for everybody though, and I have a video coming up that gets more to the mentality of making art with a chronic illness.
Do you have a favorite time period, material, type of project?
I have a few favorite time periods. The mid to late 18th century, 1850s, and 1890s to early Edwardian eras are my biggest loves. I don't really do anything post-1908 for myself or post-1920 full stop. That's where I just lose all interest in the silhouette. For fabrics, I love a really good handkerchief linen because they can be tricky to find, and I'm developing a real love of wool for dressmaking. It just does exactly what I ask of it. No squiggling or weirdness. My favorite projects are definitely big dressmaking ones. I prefer to spend several weeks or even months putting together one thing than doing anything repetitive.
Will you do more work on Jewish fashion history?
I was actually super surprised that the video on Jewish medieval veils took off the way it did. I'm really glad to see folks are interested in it, and we'll certainly see about doing more work on it in the future. I haven't made any plans yet though, because in all honesty, being Jewish is not even the 10th most important or interesting thing about me. But I am really excited to see what I can come up with for you.
If you had no time or budget constraints, what would be your dream project?
Probably an absolutely decked out robe à la française in some kind of pink and green silk brocade. I don't even know if the kind of fabric I want exists, but I'm sure it would cost me an arm and a leg, and I'd need time for a lot of mock-ups and practice before doing anything that's elaborate.
What do you have planned for 2021?
I have 2 big dressmaking projects planned for the next year, one 1890s and one 1850s. Hopefully we can safely have Dickens Fair again, or I'll have nowhere to wear the second one. Both will involve various foundation garments and accessories, so there will be videos on all the less seen bits and pieces that make a costume work. I'm also about to dive back into my corsetry for chronic pain adventures, so there will be a video or 2 on that in the next few months as well.
What's your favorite non-sewing hobby?
Dance and folk music. When there isn't a pandemic, I do contra dance and Irish ceilidh dance as often as I can, and I play fiddle and sing with those same communities too. I'm also learning ballet, which I have been able to keep up this year thanks to Sarah. She's a semi-retired, semi-professional ballet dancer, so my time here is turning into a bit of a winter ballet intensive, and I'm not one bit mad about it.
What's your favorite movie?
It's not quite a movie, it's a recording of a theatrical production. There's a version of Much Ado About Nothing with David Tennant and Catherine Tate in the lead roles, and it is my absolute favorite thing I've ever seen. I love Shakespeare when it's performed with the humor and sass it was intended to have, and they do an amazing job.
Why is some of your hair turquoise?
Well, because all of it used to be. I dyed my hair blue and green for probably 8 years, and I just don't feel like myself without it. But this red is much lower maintenance and kinder to my hair, so I have 3 shades of blue and green and this little streak underneath. And now I have a question for you. I started 2020 with less than 100 subscribers and no vision at all for my channel. And as of filming this, there are over 9,000 of you here. You are what make my videos and projects possible. So what do you want to see more of? What drew you to my channel in the first place, and what makes you stick around? Leave your thoughts in the comments, or come say hi over on Instagram. And also, leave a like, subscribe to keep up with what I'm sewing, and check out some of my other videos if you're new. I hope you've had a safe and happy new year, and I'll see you in a couple weeks with some more costuming. Happy sewing!